Your agentic loop just timed out mid-refactor because Kimi K3 was streaming at 32 tokens per second, and the bill still came in higher than Kimi Code would have charged for the whole job. Kimi K3 is a 2.8 trillion parameter reasoning giant. Kimi Code is a terminal native coding agent, and Claude Code is the incumbent everyone benchmarks against. The question is, which one you actually run? Alright, so test 1, cost per task. At 500 million input tokens a month, the number on your invoice is the first thing that kills a project. Kimi K3 lists at 3 ROI on input and 15 ROI on output. Kimi Code's default model comes in at 0.95 and 4 OS. That gap is wide enough to matter before you've run a single benchmark. I pulled the official pricing pages, and the math is pretty clear. Kimi Code is 3.2 times cheaper on input and 3.75 times cheaper on output, and at 500 million input plus 100 million output tokens a month. That works out to roughly $875 versus $3,000. One caveat worth keeping in mind, community reports say Kimi K3 burns way more tokens on ambiguous tasks, so that per token gap can actually widen in real workflows. Now, Kimi K3's 1M token context means you might need fewer API calls on a massive codebase, which does partially close the price gap. But Kimi Code's high-speed mode, even at 2 times the standard API price, still comes in cheaper than Kimi K3's base rate, so the cost advantage holds across every realistic usage tier I could find. Kimi Code takes test 1 on cost, and it's not subtle. 3.2 times cheaper on input, 3.75 times cheaper on output, confirmed straight from official pricing pages. Kimi Code goes up 1-0 on the scoreboard, and the safer pick on cost alone is obvious from the first number. I've been living inside these coding agents long enough that a surprise invoice is usually how I find out a pricing page changed. Drop a comment if a token bill has ever wrecked your month too. Okay, so test 2, coding benchmark performance. Kimi K3 sits at 57 on the Artificial Analysis Intelligence Index, which puts it at number 4 out of 189 models. That's the number Moonshot is leading with, and it comes from an independent leaderboard. The question is whether Kimi Code's default model can actually keep up on the tasks that matter for day-to-day coding work. Here's what the leaderboards actually show. One of the biggest problems I run into when using AI agents is turning their output into YouTube content I can actually use to market my product. That's why this video is sponsored by Subscriber, a tool that helps business owners connect their AI agents to YouTube and market their products without spending 10 hours every week creating content. You can connect Claude or ChatGPT directly to Subscriber. It then analyzes your business, website, and YouTube channel to help you create SEO-optimized video ideas, scripts, thumbnails, and even complete videos that actually match your brand. What I like most is that every week, Subscriber gives me a list of high-potential video ideas I can immediately execute, and it can even help edit videos for me, with or without my face, including videos like the one you're watching right now. It's easy to get started, and you can try Subscriber for free using the link in the description below. Now back to the video. Kimi K3 scores 72.9% on Kimi Code Bench V2 versus Kimi Code's 62.0%, a nearly 11-point gap on the same suite, and it's sitting at 1,679 ELO on front-end code arena, ranked number 1, beating Claude Fable 5 in 76% of head-to-heads. Fair caveat, NX Code flagged that harness choice alone can swing SWE bench by 10 to 26 points, so these numbers reflect the best configured setup. Kimi K3 takes test 2 on raw coding intelligence, and the risk of picking the wrong model on a complex multi-file task is real. 11 points on a coding benchmark is the difference between a working PR and a broken one. That ties it up at 1 apiece, and the scoreboard is a lot closer than the pricing gap suggested. Test 3, inference speed. About 32 tokens per second is what Kimi K3 streams at, which is where the timeout problem from the cold open actually comes from. The median for comparable open weight models is 66 to 69 tokens per second. When you're running an agentic loop that needs fast feedback, slow streaming doesn't just feel bad, it can literally break the workflow with rate limit errors mid-run. I ran the speed numbers twice because the gap is that wide. Kimi K3 tops out at around 32 to 41 tokens per second. Kimi Code's high-speed mode, made permanent on July 10, 2026, hits roughly 180 tokens per second and can reach 260 in short contexts. That's a 4 to 5 times speed advantage, and Kimi K3 has no equivalent fast mode to close it. Kimi Code takes test 3 on speed, and the risk of running Kimi K3 in an agentic loop is concrete. Slow streaming plus ambiguous prompts equals timeouts and runaway token costs. That puts Kimi Code up 2 to 1, and for everyday interactive coding, the safer pick is already pretty clear. Okay, so Kimi Code is ahead on cost and speed, but we haven't touched context, window, and deployment yet. And those two dimensions are exactly where Kimi K3 was built to fight back. If your codebase is big enough that 256k tokens isn't close to enough, the next two tests could change the whole picture. Test 4, Context and Output Limits. 1 million tokens is the number Kimi K3 leads with, and it's a real spec from the official Allion documentation. Kimi Code's default model caps at 256k tokens. If your repo is large enough that you've ever had to chunk files manually or lost context mid-session, this is the test where that pain has a price. The context gap is exactly as wide as the spec says. Kimi K3 gives you 1,048,76 tokens of context, 4 times larger than Kimi Code's 262,144, and its max output on Allion is listed up to 1M tokens combined. Kimi Code's official max output on the same platform is 16,384 tokens, which is a pretty tight ceiling if you're generating large files, though third-party integrations do report higher limits in practice. Kimi K3 takes test 4 on context, and the risk of hitting a 256k ceiling on a real monorepo is exactly the kind of failure that costs you an afternoon of rechunking work. That ties the scoreboard at 2 wins each, and the whole comparison now comes down to what your codebase actually demands. Test 5, Deployment and Modality. Apache 2.0 versus a custom license is the kind of thing that sounds like a legal footnote until your company's open source policy flags it at 11 p.m. before a ship date. Both Kimi K3 and Kimi Code have open weights or open CLI, but the integration services, the license terms, and the IDE tooling are genuinely different in ways that affect your actual day-to-day setup. Watch what happens when you compare the integration layers side by side. Kimi K3's weights are on Hugging Face under a custom Kimi K3 license, deployable via API, OpenRouter, and Vercel. Kimi Code ships as an Apache 2.0 CLI with an MCP server and ACP integration, making it a genuine drop-in for Claude Code and VS Code. Both support text, image, and video input, so modality is real parity. Both tools are genuinely deployable, and both have open weights or open CLI, which is why this one lands close. But if you need to plug into an existing Claude Code workflow without reconfiguring anything, Kimi Code's MCP server and ACP integration give it a real edge on friction, even if the raw deployment flexibility of Kimi K3's weights is a legitimate advantage for teams who want to self-host and fine-tune. Deployment and modality is genuinely even, and the scoreboard stays at Kimi K3 2, Kimi Code 2, 1 tied. Both tools are deployable enough that this test doesn't hand the overall win to either side. Kimi K3 wins on raw intelligence and scale. It's number 4 on the Artificial Analysis Intelligence Index, with a score of 57, number 1 on Front-End Code Arena at 1,879 ELO, and its 1M token context window is 4 times larger than Kimi Code's. If you're doing whole repo analysis or complex multi-file reasoning, Kimi K3 is the one you reach for. Kimi Code wins on cost and speed for everyday work. It's 3.2 times cheaper on input, 3.75 times cheaper on output, and its high-speed mode runs at roughly 180 tokens per second versus Kimi K3's 32 to 41. The Apache 2.0 CLI with MCP support makes it a true Claude Code drop-in, and community reports confirm Kimi K3 burns tokens faster on ambiguous tasks, which wipes out any per-token advantage K3 might claim. Claude Code is the incumbent that both moonshot tools are benchmarking against, and it still wins on ecosystem maturity and trust. The tooling, the community support, the documented edge cases, and the IDE integrations are more battle-tested than either Kimi option right now. If you need something that just works without configuration friction, Claude Code is still the lower-risk default for teams that can't afford a setup day. If your codebase needs 1M token context and frontier-level reasoning, pick Kimi K3. If you need speed and a sane bill, Kimi Code at 0.95 input is the safer call for everything else. And the decisive reason is pretty simple. It's 3.75 times cheaper on output tokens and 4 to 5 times faster, and that combination wins on every ordinary coding day. One thing that didn't show up in any benchmark, Kimi Code's high-speed mode costs 3 times the usage consumption inside the Kimi Code plan tiers. So if you're on the Moderato or Allegretto subscription, you can burn through your 7-day credit window way faster than the pricing page implies. Watch that multiplier before you flip high-speed on for a long agentic run. If you want to see how Kimi K3 holds up against 2 other frontier reasoning models, I did a full breakdown in Kimi K3 versus Grok 4.5 versus Gemini 3.6, which reasons better, and the results are pretty interesting, so go check that one out next.